Dad skipped my mother's funeral because his new girlfriend said it would be disrespectful, even though he stayed friends with Mom after their divorce. So we cut his financial support and told him we won't handle his funeral. His girlfriend showed up crying, claiming he tried to harm himself, so I exposed his cheating. Now he's furious and demands an apology. My mom passed away a little over a month ago, and I still can't believe what my dad did. I'm not posting this for advice, I just need to get it out, because I can't wrap my head around how someone can be this selfish. My parents divorced about 8 years ago. It wasn't messy, at least not on the surface. They stayed friends, they still talked every week, checked in on each other, and Dad even came by to fix stuff around her house when she got sick. Mom always said she didn't hate him, she just didn't love him that way anymore. I believed her. We all did. So did he apparently, because they'd grab coffee sometimes or talk about us kids. They were weirdly civil, and even though it made some people uncomfortable, it worked for them. Dad started dating this woman, Carla, about 2 years ago. I met her once at a dinner. She was polite but had this energy like she thought she was better than everyone else. It wasn't anything obvious, just the kind of fake sweet where she compliments you but there's something sharp behind it. I didn't think much of it. She wasn't my mom, she wasn't in my life, so whatever. When Mom got sick again earlier this year, Dad was still in touch with her. He even offered to drive her to appointments a few times. He wasn't perfect, but I thought it meant something that he cared in some way. But when she passed away, I called him that same morning, and he sounded weird, quiet, not shocked, not emotional, just like he didn't know what to say. I told him the funeral would be that weekend and asked if he'd be coming. He said, "I don't think that's a good idea. Carla doesn't feel comfortable with me going." At first I thought he meant maybe she was sick or something, but no, he meant that it would be disrespectful for him to go to his ex-wife's funeral because it might hurt Carla's feelings. I remember just sitting there, staring at the wall, because what do you even say to that? My mom had zero animosity toward him. She literally helped him refinance his car a few years back when he got into debt. And somehow, this woman who had nothing to do with any of it gets to decide that him saying goodbye to the mother of his children is disrespectful. I told him he should think about it again, and he just said he didn't want drama. That was it. No fight, no emotion. Just that. He didn't come. At the funeral, a few of Mom's friends asked where he was. I told them he was sick. It wasn't true, but I couldn't stomach the truth either. I didn't want my mom's memory tied to his cowardice. My brother and sister were just as angry as I was, but they kept it together for me because I handled most of the arrangements. After the service, when everything quieted down, I called him again. I told him how much it hurt that he didn't show up. He said he wanted to remember her in his own way. I told him that was bullshit, he just didn't want to make his girlfriend upset. He started yelling that I was being unfair and that Carla didn't mean any harm. I told him I didn't care what she meant, she'd made her boundaries clear, and he'd chosen her comfort over his kids and over basic decency. That's when I decided I was done. See, for context, my dad retired early, but not comfortably. He's been living off a mix of savings, small pensions, and help from us. Me and my siblings have been covering bits and pieces like utilities, medication, repairs. We've always done it because he's our dad, and Mom would have wanted him taken care of. But after this, number. I told my brother and sister I was cutting him off completely, and they agreed. We told him flat out, since Carla has such a strong say in what's respectful and what isn't, she can handle his respectful lifestyle too. We also told him we wouldn't be dealing with his funeral when the time comes. If Carla has opinions about ex-wives' funerals, she can manage his. He lost it, called us ungrateful, cruel, vindictive, said we were punishing him for moving on. My brother told him he could move on however he wanted, but not at our expense anymore. It's not even about money, it's about how little empathy he showed. Mom deserved better. She spent years making sure none of us hated him after the divorce, and this is how he repaid her. I can't even imagine how she'd feel knowing he couldn't be bothered to stand in the same room as her casket because his girlfriend might be uncomfortable. If he can choose his girlfriend's comfort over his ex-wife's memory, then he can live with the consequences of that. I'm done being the grown-up for my parent. Update 1. It's been a few weeks since the funeral and the last time I posted. Things have gotten worse. Out of nowhere, my dad's girlfriend Carla showed up at my door one afternoon. I didn't even know how she got my address since I never gave it to her, but she was standing there crying, saying my dad hasn't been eating or sleeping and that he's not in a good place because of how cruel we've been. She said he keeps saying his kids have abandoned him and that he can't live like that. I was honestly stunned. My dad is a grown man in his 60s. He missed our mom's funeral because his girlfriend thought it would be disrespectful for him to attend, And now, suddenly we're the bad guys? I didn't invite her in, I just stood there listening to her talk about how she's worried he might do something stupid if we don't talk to him. I didn't believe her. It sounded more like guilt tripping than genuine concern. I told her I'd call him myself. She said not to because he doesn't want to talk right now. That set off alarm bells. So after she left, I got in my car and drove to his place. He was home, sitting on the couch in the same clothes I'd last seen him in, beer bottles everywhere, TV on low. He looked tired but not suicidal, just sad and sulking. Carla was hovering near him like a guard dog, acting like I was the reason he was falling apart. I told her to give us space, and she said I was stressing him out. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I talked to my dad for a while, or tried to. He didn't have much to say except that we humiliated him by cutting off financial help and telling the family he missed Mom's funeral. He said everyone thinks he's heartless now. I told him that's on him, not us. I didn't make him skip it. He made that choice, and he did it to keep Carla happy. That's when he said something like, "We don't understand what it's like to be in love again." That was enough for me. I left after that. I didn't raise my voice or say anything I regret. I just told him that if he wants to sit in that house pretending he's the victim while the woman who told him to avoid his ex-wife's funeral comforts him, that's his business. But we're not going to keep pretending he's some broken old man who deserves pity. The next morning, Carla texted me saying my dad was in a really dark place and that if he hurts himself, it'll be on us. I don't play with that kind of thing, even if I think someone's being manipulative. So I called my brother, told him what she said, and we decided to do a welfare check. When the police went over, he was fine. Drunk again, but fine. They told him why they were there, and I guess that embarrassed him. Carla called me after saying we crossed a line and that I invaded his privacy. Word got around fast. Our uncle heard about the welfare check and told me I went too far, that dad's just grieving and doesn't know how to handle it. I told him grief isn't skipping your ex-wife's funeral because your new girlfriend doesn't like the optics. That's not grief, that's cowardice. My sister's been quiet through all of this. She said she's too tired to keep playing peacekeeper. My brother's angry, but pretending not to be. He's always been the one who forgives first, but this time I can tell even he's done. It's been weird, hearing from family who never called before. My cousin messaged me saying Carla's been telling people my dad had a breakdown because we abandoned him. Apparently, she's telling people we've been punishing him ever since Mom died. It's honestly disgusting. Update 2. It's been a few weeks since the whole mess with my dad and Carla blowing up. I wasn't planning to post again, but a few things came out that changed how I see everything. And honestly, I just need to get it off my chest somewhere that's not a family group chat. After the welfare check incident, things stayed quiet for a bit. Dad stopped calling, which was fine by me. Carla sent 1 or 2 guilt texts saying stuff like, "He hasn't been the same since you turned your back on him." But I didn't answer. My brother blocked her. My sister just ignored her. We all agreed to just stay away. Then last week, I went to see my aunt, my mom's sister, because she wanted help going through some of Mom's old things. While we were sorting photos and keepsakes, she asked if I'd spoken to Dad lately. I told her no, not really, and she just kind of sighed in that way that tells you she's been holding something in. That's when she told me the thing I think I'd already started to suspect. Dad and Carla were seeing each other before the divorce. I didn't even react at first. I just sat there. I think I was waiting for her to say she wasn't sure, or that it was some rumor, but she wasn't guessing. She said Mom had confided in her years ago she'd found out Dad was sleeping with someone from his office. And yes, it was Carla. Mom didn't tell us because she didn't want us to hate him. Apparently she'd made Aunt promise not to tell us unless there was ever a reason we needed to know. So all that "we just grew apart" story Dad used to tell everyone was bullshit. Mom knew, and she still stayed friendly with him after everything. She let him come over for dinner sometimes. She let him talk about his health problems. She even asked us to help him with money when he retired early because she said he'd always been a good father and didn't deserve to struggle. Now I can't stop thinking about her sitting through all that, knowing he'd cheated, and still being kind to him, still calling him when he was sick, still forgiving him, and then he couldn't even show up to her funeral because his girlfriend was uncomfortable. I don't even know what to call the feeling I have. It's not just anger. It's like disgust mixed with shame, because part of me feels stupid for ever defending him. I went to confront him the next day. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want my brother or sister to talk me out of it. When I got there, Carla answered the door and immediately gave me that fake shocked face like she couldn't believe I was there. She said Dad wasn't feeling well. I said I wasn't leaving until I saw him. He looked surprised but not sick, just irritated. He tried to start off by saying he didn't want more drama. I told him it wasn't about drama, I just wanted the truth. I said I knew about him and Carla before the divorce and that he owed us at least some honesty after everything that's happened. He didn't deny it. He just said, things were complicated back then. Your mother wanted out too, I swear. Hearing him lie to my face like that made something in me snap. Mom didn't want out. She just didn't want to keep pretending she was married to a man who already moved on. Carla started chiming in then, talking about how people make mistakes and how I need to let go of my grief. It was so condescending I couldn't even respond for a second. I just stared at her. Then I told her, this isn't about grief, it's about respect, something she clearly doesn't understand. Dad got defensive, started raising his voice, saying Mom wouldn't want us fighting like this. I told him Mom wouldn't have wanted him to sleep with another woman either, but that didn't stop him. That ended the conversation. When I got home, I told my siblings everything. My brother didn't even look surprised. My sister cried. She said she always felt like something about their divorce didn't add up, but Mom would never talk about it. We agreed that was it. No more pretending he's just misguided or under Carla's influence. He made his choices. We cut off contact completely after that, blocked their numbers. No more checking in. But of course, word travels fast in families. Within days, I started getting messages from cousins asking what happened. Then my aunt must have told someone else, because next thing I know, our uncle, Dad's brother, calls and says he heard from one of Dad's friends that we're spreading lies. I didn't bother defending myself. I told him he could believe what he wanted, but I think some of Dad's old friends figured it out on their own, because one of them texted me saying, your mom was a saint for how she handled everything. That about broke me. Mom deserved better than what she got from him, and I'm not letting him rewrite that story just to make himself feel better. That's all. I don't think I'll ever see him the same again. Update 3. It's been about 3 weeks, and I honestly thought I'd said and done everything there was to say. I first heard about it from one of my mom's old friends, Leah, who still keeps in touch with some of Dad's side of the family. She called to say Carla had been telling people that I lied about an affair to ruin their relationship, and that I'd caused Dad to have some kind of emotional breakdown. I thought Leah was exaggerating or maybe misheard something. I didn't even want to believe Carla was still talking about us. But then I started getting weird messages from cousins who never talked to me, asking if Dad was okay and saying I shouldn't air private family things. That's when I knew Carla had actually been going around telling people I made up the cheating story and that Dad was now barely functioning because of me. For the record, Dad is fine. He's a proud man who hates embarrassment more than anything. If he's miserable, it's not because of me. It's because people finally found out what he actually did. Anyway, I tried to ignore it at first. I didn't see the point of fighting rumors from a woman who has done nothing but make my family miserable since the day she showed up. But ignoring Carla doesn't make her go away. She thrives on chaos, and the more silent she gets, the louder she becomes. A few days after the gossip started spreading, she showed up at my workplace. Out of nowhere. I work at a small design studio, and we're right by a busy strip mall, so people come in and out all the time. I was walking back from lunch when I saw her standing by the parking lot near my car. At first, I thought I was imagining it because there's no universe where I expected to see her there. She was wearing sunglasses and looked all shaken up, like she'd been crying or wanted to look like she had. Before I could even ask what she was doing there, she started saying that Dad was at his breaking point and that I'd ruined his life with lies. I told her she needed to leave and that this wasn't the place for this, but she kept following me toward the door. A few of my co-workers noticed, which just made it worse. I told her I didn't want to talk to her, and she said she came because I wouldn't answer Dad's calls. I tried to stay calm, but she wouldn't stop. She started begging me to fix things and retract what I said. I told her there was nothing to retract because it was the truth. When she realized she wasn't getting anywhere, she switched tactics and started crying harder, saying she never meant to ruin my family. The whole thing was a scene, and my boss ended up coming out because people thought something was wrong. That was the point I told her flat out to leave or I'd call security. I meant it too. She finally backed off, but not before saying something about how Dad doesn't deserve this kind of hate. That same evening, I sent her one message. Don't come to my work or my home again. If you do, I'll file for a restraining order. She didn't reply. But the next day I woke up to even more messages from family, some defending me, others asking what really happened. I got tired of the half-truths being thrown around, so I decided to stop playing quiet. I wrote one email and sent it to every relative who had reached out or who I knew Carla had spoken to. I explained everything, how Mom had known about the affair but never told us because she didn't want to poison us against Dad, how I found out through our aunt, and how Dad's absence at Mom's funeral made everything 1,000 times worse because of that history. I made it clear I hadn't gone around trying to destroy him, but that I refused to be painted as a liar for defending my mom's memory. I was straightforward. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't call names. I just laid out the facts. Within a few hours, Carla replied to everyone. Her response was this long, fake sweet message about how she never meant to cause division and that maybe things were misunderstood back then. She said she and Dad didn't start dating until long after the marriage ended, but she understood how emotions could blur timelines. It was manipulative as hell, and she even tried to paint me as grieving and confused, like I imagined the entire thing. Regardless though, all were in complete shock and upset with Carla. A couple hours later, Dad called me. I didn't even plan to answer, but I did, just to get it over with. He was furious. Told me I'd destroyed his reputation, that people were calling him a cheater and a coward, and that I had no right digging up the past. I didn't bother arguing. I just said one thing, that I wasn't responsible for the mess he created. Then I hung up. He texted after saying he wanted nothing to do with ungrateful children. My siblings and I haven't spoken to him since. He's still with Carla as far as I know, but now half the family avoids them. Final update. 6 months have passed, and I came back one last time to give an update. My dad hasn't called or texted since the last update. My brother did try reaching out once just to check if he was okay. Carla answered and told him Dad didn't want to speak to anyone who disrespected him. That was the end of that. My sister didn't even bother. She said she didn't even want to bother with him. We found out through our aunt that Dad had moved in with Carla full-time. Apparently, they're inseparable. Now she drives him everywhere, manages his medication, even posts little updates about their quiet life on her family's group chat. I'm guessing that's for show, because from what our aunt says, he barely leaves the house. There were whispers that his health has been getting worse, but he refuses help from anyone who isn't Carla. When his doctor tried to set up a home visit last month, he canceled it and told them his partner was handling everything. It's weird to think about. A man who used to insist on doing things his way, now letting someone else speak for him completely. Carla sent a few messages early on. They were all the same guilt-ridden paragraphs about how Dad misses you deeply but can't handle the constant attacks, or he's not well and your silence is making it worse. I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't even read the last few all the way through. She wanted me to cave, and I wasn't going to give her that. I know some people think I should have been the bigger person and reached out anyway, but I did that for years. I gave him the benefit of the doubt every time he messed up. I let him show up when it was convenient for him and vanish when it wasn't. He didn't just miss Mom's funeral, he chose to, because it was easier to keep his girlfriend happy than to face the reality of what he'd done to the woman he once swore he'd love forever. That's not something you come back from. After that, I deleted his number. I didn't block it, just deleted it. In other news, we had Mom's birthday last week. Me, my siblings, and a few of her friends got together at her favorite beach. We took her ashes, we'd kept them for a while because none of us could agree on what to do, and finally let them go. It wasn't some big cinematic moment. It was quiet. We didn't say much, just stood there while the tide came in and the wind blew everything back toward the water. For the first time in a long time, it felt like we weren't holding on to her memory out of anger anymore. Afterwards, we went for lunch and ended up talking about her in a way we hadn't before. Not as this fragile memory, but as a person. My brother brought up how she used to hum while cooking, even when she was mad at us. My sister remembered how she'd still make Dad tea after arguments, even when you could tell she wanted to throw the mug at him. That's just who she was, kind to a fault. I think that's why she never told us about the affair. She wanted to protect us from the truth, even when it was eating her alive. That's what makes this whole thing so frustrating, because I can almost hear her voice telling me to let it go, but letting it go isn't the same as forgiving him. I don't forgive him. I don't hate him either, but I see him for who he is now, someone who built his whole life around being comfortable, even when it meant stepping on the people who loved him most. Sometimes, I think about what'll happen when he's gone. If Carla will expect us to show up, to handle the funeral arrangements we said we wouldn't. I've already made peace with not going. That sounds harsh, but there's nothing left to mourn there. The man who raised me isn't the same man living in that house now.